We're in the midst of NFL preseason, but hey, the Eagles season is just right around the corner, and for that we have to bring in our CBS Philly expert, talk more about the Eagles season. Hey, Don Bell, how's it going?
It's going great here. You're right. We're just counting down the days until we get to the season opener. The Baltimore Ravens are in town for their little joint sessions with the Eagles. So that's been it's been fun to say the least. Spirited practice down at the NovaCare complex.
Well, and you've seen them at training camp and all throughout preseason. So heading into this season, what do you think are really the Eagles' strengths and weaknesses here?
Strengths and weaknesses. Well, I mean, one of the things that the Eagles have done for a long time here, even with Andy Reid, is they try to build from the inside out. So we're talking about on the offensive line and also the defensive line. Defensively, they look pretty good. I mean, Fletcher Cox is really the guy that you want to watch there in the middle of that D line, and they've tried to fill it out on the ends there with Brandon Graham coming back. They re-signed him to be here, so they always want to get after the passer. So I do believe that defensive line is a strength for them. On the offensive side of the ball, listen, we want to say it's Carson Wentz, right? Because the last time we saw him for nearly a full season, he was in MVP form in 2017. And of course, he had a season-ending injury last season as well. But we do believe here in Philadelphia and nationally, too, people look at him as an MVP type candidate. So if he plays like that, they're going to be fine for most of the season.
So Wentz definitely an asset on the offensive side of the ball. Do you see any assets that are your go-to guys on the defensive side of the field?
Yeah, as far as the defensive side of the field, I mean, as I mentioned, Fletcher Cox is a total beast there. But I have to mention Malcolm Jenkins because he really is the anchor in that secondary, and he's made the Pro Bowl, I believe, 3 of the last 4 years. He has been phenomenal since coming to Philadelphia. He's played in every single game. So the back end is really important. And also one thing I want to mention about Malcolm Jenkins, why he's so important, is because not only can he provide deep help, but he's also a guy who plays close to the line of scrimmage quite a bit. The Eagles aren't necessarily known for their linebacker play. It's been that way for the better part of 20 years. But he plays kind of a semi-linebacker role, and he is great with filling on the run.
Don, lots of positives here heading into the 2019 season, but do you have any concerns about this team this year?
I do have some concerns. I know I talked about how they build from the inside out, offensive and defensive lines. On the offensive line, I think there is some room for concern. I mean, Jason Peters is going to be a Hall of Famer on that left tackle, but he's had some issues finishing games over the last couple of seasons. So you worry about him protecting the blind side of Carson Wentz. Also, Brandon Brooks, the all-pro guard for the Eagles, hasn't played yet this preseason. He's coming off an injury from last year, so we haven't seen him quite play yet. And he's big for them. We want to make sure that he is in pretty good shape and ready to go as he teams up with Jason Kelce there in the middle.
Don, I know we're still in the midst of preseason, but I have to ask you, do you have any jabs at what the record might be towards the end of the season for the Eagles?
Yeah, listen, here in Philadelphia, the expectations are sky high. I mean, people are throwing out numbers like 13-3, 12-4. I'm a little bit more realistic. I do see some holes on this team, particularly in the secondary where there's some injuries and guys are coming back. So I'm looking more like a 11-5 season, which I think would be a phenomenal year for them. And actually in the NFC, given the fact that it's such a competitive conference, that might be good enough to get them a first-round bye. You just kind of never know. It is a pretty deep conference from top to bottom.
High hopes in Philadelphia this year. Thank you so much, Don, for joining us. And the Eagles kick off their season September 8th against the Redskins. Katie Johnston for CBS Philly.